Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I actually got a few questions about. And that is, what kind of oil do you run in your Rx7? So, let me get the basics out there. My Rx7 is a 1985 Rx7, but it has a Series 4 13B in it. That means it's fuel injected, it's a 1.3 liter, and it's out of the second generation Rx7, the FC. It's a 1987 engine in a 1985 car. Now, the oil that I use is 20W50. Now you might be asking, Zach, why so thick? Well, I was born this way. But you also might be asking, why do you use such thick oil? Well, that's because rotary engines are really hot. They run really hot. Because there's no time where combustion isn't happening, heat is always being created by the engine. 24/7, 365, anytime the engine's running, it's producing heat. In a regular piston engine, there's small milliseconds where nothing's happening. Over time, that builds up to actually help cool the engine. So, as we know, as oil heats up, it becomes thinner. And the last thing I want in my car is to oil starve the engine. I don't want the oil to run too thin. To demonstrate how this kind of works, because I actually did get debated on this topic that oil gets thicker when it's cold and thinner when it's warm, I took a cup at room temperature oil, it's 10W30, but room temperature oil, and then I put one in the freezer for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And as you can tell right off the bat, the room temperature is pretty thin honey, but the freezer cup is really thick. It won't even sludge around the glass. Now, I decided to pour these together in slow motion. On the left is the room temperature cup, and on the right is the freezer cup. And as you can see, way thicker. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to heat a cup of oil up to operating temperature in my kitchen, but you get the idea that as it warms up, it gets thinner and thinner. So, I use a thicker oil, so then when it does heat up and get thinner, it doesn't get too thin, and I don't oil starve any part of my engine. Now, this also raises another question that I got, which I might make a whole video on its own about, just because this seems to be kind of a worrying question that I get more often than I'd like to admit. And that is, does premixing a rotary replace the need for oil changes? No. Plain and simple, no. You have to give your car oil changes. I'd recommend it every 3,000 miles, even if you premix, and I'll explain why. Alright, so here we have my trusty 12A that, well, actually blew up. But this is the rotor and housing. Rotary engines usually have two, but they have been made up to 3 or 4. But this is just one rotor and one housing. So, the oil in the engine, the oil in the pan lubricates everything in this area here. I'll highlight that in red. Now, premix lubricates the places in blue. The premix actually goes into the combustion chamber and gets burned. It's to protect these apex seals right here. But it gets burned up in the process. The engine oil usually doesn't get burned unless you have an OMP. The OMP will feed oil to not only the moving parts of the engine, but will feed into the combustion chamber. When you remove the OMP and you premix, the gas is now lubricating the inside of the combustion chamber, while just the regular oil pan is lubricating the interior of the engine and not the combustion. So I hope this sort of clears up some confusion that some people had. I run 20W50 oil, thick oil, in my 13B. No, premixing does not replace oil changes, but I hope this cleared some stuff up. If you have any questions, please leave in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer as much as I can. What oil do you guys use in your Rx7? I'm curious to know what other rotary drivers use. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, subscribe if you really liked it, and don't worry guys, more rotary around the world is coming soon. So if you haven't submitted your cars yet, please do so down below. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.